When Erica, Gianna, and I were doing defense work, we actually were medical malpractice defense lawyers. So we represented hospitals, doctors, healthcare facilities in these cases. And we learned the tricks of the trade, and we took a lot of pride in that work. We loved what we did. We loved working on those cases and defending healthcare providers. They are heroes in a lot of ways. But I think that when we switched to the plaintiff side, our dad always taught us we need to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. We need to fight for the patient who had a catastrophic injury due to a medical error and can't work anymore and can't support their family. On the other side, we were defending very sophisticated hospitals and doctors and healthcare systems, and that was great. But I think we take a lot of pride in helping people who can't fight for themselves.
Welcome to Between the Briefs, a podcast by Steno. We're here to bring you practical tips, expert insights, and real conversations about the pretrial process, court reporting, and the legal technology shaping the future of litigation. I'm your host, Adrian.
And I'm your host, Joe Stevens. Whether you're an attorney, paralegal, or just curious about how technology is changing the legal industry, we've got something for you. Each episode will break down complex topics, share behind-the-scenes intel, and talk to the people leading innovation in and out of the courtroom. So grab a coffee and let's get into what's happening between the briefs.
Welcome to Between the Briefs, your go-to podcast for legal innovation. I'm Joe Stevens.
And I'm Adrian. Today, we're honored to be joined by Lauren Kelly Gellerowski, Erica Kelly, and Gianna Kelly, personal injury attorneys and medical malpractice advocates who bring a rare and powerful perspective to their practice.
All three are partners at the Kelly firm, a family-owned firm launched alongside sisters and father. Together, they're redefining what client-centered advocacy looks like by combining deep litigation experience with empathy, transparency, and a true family-driven approach to the law.
Lauren, Gianna, and Erica, welcome to the show. It is amazing to have you guys here. So just to kick it right off, Lauren, I would love to hear from you. Tell us about this, the beginnings. I hear you're going to start a firm together. Tell me more.
Well, thank you, Adrian and Joe, for having us on today. We're super excited. But in January of this year, Gianna, Erica, and I started our own law firm, the Kelly firm. And we each have been practicing for several years. We all actually did defense work prior to joining the plaintiff's bar. And we just thought this was the right opportunity to do something of our own and have ownership in our firm and how we run things and have complete autonomy, all while doing really good work for our clients. And we're just really excited to be doing this together. We love working together. We love hanging out with each other. So it was just a really good opportunity for us.
That's amazing. Okay, Erica, tell me about the switch from defense to plaintiff's work. What's that been like?
Sure. So I worked at a defense firm for the last 11 years. And while obviously switching sides is somewhat of a drastic change, you would be surprised by how many of the skills that I acquired on the defense side that I can actually apply to the plaintiff side. Specifically, I feel like after spending so much time in the defense bar, I kind of know the playbook. I know how claims are defended. I know how they're evaluated, how they're valued. And so I'm able to take a lot of that experience and bring it over to this side of the V, where that all of those things are very pertinent. How are the claims going to be defended? How are they valued? Things of that nature. So it is very different, but I feel like I've been able to take a lot of those skills and apply them directly to the side of the bar.
Love that. Love that. And Gianna, I would love to hear from you. Tell me, I want to say maybe what you're most excited about with the firm, now open and launching, are really open, ready for business. What do you feel you're most excited about? And what do you think is a challenge now that, you're a young firm and you got a lot to take on? So tell me more about it.
Yeah, so I think we're all really excited to be working together again. As Lauren and Erica said, we were all at a defense firm in Pittsburgh and we were working together for a long time. And then Lauren and I left and we joined our dad at his plaintiff's firm in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. And he's been a seasoned trial attorney for many, many years. He's been practicing law for 40 years. So we learned a lot from him, but I think we're most excited to be all working together again. We work really well together. We all respect each other's opinions. They trust me with decisions that I make. I trust them with whatever decisions they make, but we're all still very good at collaborating and ping-ponging off each other in that way. So I'm really excited that we get to kind of take all of the experience that we've learned at the defense firm, at our dad's plaintiff's firm, and kind of use that in shaping this new, we kind of say it's like a new brand of law. It's not like the same old law firm that you see. It's kind of like we're creating our own type of law where we put the client first. We really try to connect with them and try to empathize with how they're feeling. And a lot of times when you meet a client, a personal injury client specifically, they're kind of at the lowest point in their life. And I think we all pride ourselves in being able to really empathize with those people. And they really do become, some of our closest friends and can trust us as friends and, as attorneys. So I think we're really excited to kind of be able to launch into that. I think maybe a struggle or challenge will just be, we're a new firm, so we're kind of taking on all the roles right now. We each are able to utilize our strengths to kind of divvy up the work, but we're all kind of on board with handling every aspect of the case. But that's also a good thing. I think we're really excited to have, like Lauren said, autonomy and complete control over our cases and how we want to run them.
So, Gianna, let me pick up on that. And Lauren or Erica, I'm interested in your answer to this. I was curious. I mean, as a lawyer myself, I sit there and I'm aware of the different roles that exist across the life cycle of a case from intake all the way through resolution. So how do you three balance that? It sounds like Gianna's saying that you sort of have an all hands on deck approach right now, but are there different things that each of you bring to the table that are your strengths that you sort of lean on each other for? And then how are you handling the case assignments and intake and things like, how are you handling all these different tasks?
Yeah. So it is kind of an all hands on deck. I think part of what we pride ourselves in at this stage is if you're a client walking in our door, each of us is going to know everything about your case. And so we're each able to jump in and help with the case at any point. Typically, one of us will be the point person who has the most contact with the client. But for example, Erica just jumped in on a mediation I had the other day and met the client, got along great with her, is going to help us try the case. And she just jumped into this case and is already completely up to speed. So I think we really take pride in everyone knows really everything about every case, which is super helpful. But in terms of the three of us, we're all so similar, but I think we all have distinct personalities and strengths. What comes to my mind is Gianna is so incredibly empathetic. Her clients love her. They know that they can talk to her about anything. Erica she's like our bulldog. She gets in there and she will, do whatever she has to do to win the case and get a good outcome for her client. I pride myself in just trying to be really prepared and organized, maybe too much sometimes that I get a little lost in the details. But I think all of us have those traits, but each of us kind of embodies them a little differently.
That is fascinating. And I would love for our audience to just get to know you a little better. This sounds like the trifecta right now. When it comes to tackling a tackling a case, you guys got it. You lean on each other's strengths to really tackle the problem head on and lead to a resolution. Eric, I would love to hear from you. What do you feel led to all three of you being involved in getting into legal and turning into the firm that you guys have today? What do you think led up to this, and what had the decision that all three of you were like, let's all go to law school?
Well, we were just laughing with Joe before we started that, of course, many siblings are a lot different, but it just so happens that all of us are very similar and we have a lot of the same interests and likes and things like that. As Gianna mentioned, our dad has been a trial lawyer for 40 years. So, of course, that's what put the idea into our heads because we've grown up around the law. We've seen him working hard for his client and trying cases for so many years. So I think Lauren would agree with me that Lauren has always wanted to be an attorney. And I've always wanted to do exactly what Lauren does. So Lauren made the decision to go to law school. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to be a lawyer. I guess I'm going to go to law school. So luckily, I ended up loving it and really liking law school as much as anybody can like law school and really liking practicing law. And then I think it's kind of the same thing. Gianna has just spent so much time with us that you see your family, your dad, your sisters, working in this industry, and especially on the plaintiff side, really connecting with clients and having this great impact on their lives. As Gianna said, at one of the lowest points in their lives, you really are trying to make a difference for them. So when you grow up around that and you grow up seeing that, I think it does become something that is interesting and something that you want to be able to do with people. We're all people. And so we just, I think seeing that opportunity to connect with people and help with people really inspired all of us.
Okay, so you've seen your dad practice for 40 years, or he's been in practice for 40
Mhm.
years. He must be obviously a tremendous mentor in so many ways, but I guess the two questions that I have, and Gianna, we could start with you if you would like. How do you think his practice and the way he grew up in his practice, the things that he teaches you that might be sort of more timeless lessons? And then
Mhm.
what about the evolution of the practice now, where you are sitting there thinking, well, actually, the way it's done now is a little bit different, or we could do things a little bit differently. We could use technology a little bit differently. Like, maybe give me both sides of that.
Our dad, he's been doing this for 40 years. He knows everything there is to know about the legal profession and the law. But like you said, he also teaches us, things outside of that have been so valuable to us, especially in creating this new firm. And I think one of the really important things that he taught us was, being very involved in your community. He's from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, so he's been a pillar in his community for forever. He's lived there his entire life. And so I think the ways that he's given back to his community has been so impactful. And he's really taught us, going forward in life, not only to try to be good attorneys, but to be good neighbors, to give back to your community and to the people that helped raise you, the people that taught you to the things to get you to where we are today. So I think that's one of the really important things that he's taught us, and it's helped us going forward because, giving back to your community and then being able to help them if they ever need us, that's been really special. Um, Going back to, what are some things that I think we'll probably do differently? Like you said, he's been doing this for so long, and this was before technology and, AI and things like that really were utilized in the law. So I think going forward, the older generations have a little bit of a harder time utilizing technology and AI and all of the different things that have come up just in the past couple years. And I think we're really good at utilizing those things in our cases to help our clients have an advantage, you know, on the other side. I think because we're, younger females, we know, what exactly to use. We know the most up-to-date technology and we do utilize that. So I think that's a little bit different, just more of a progressive way to practice as opposed to kind of the old school way that firms typically have always done it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Lauren, I would love to hear your take on why medical malpractice, right? Why the
Mhm.
focus on this? Um, why does the advocacy for it matter so much to your firm? If you could just elaborate on that, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So when Erica, Gianna, and I were doing defense work, we actually were medical malpractice defense lawyers. So we represented hospitals, doctors, healthcare facilities in these cases. And we learned the tricks of the trade. And we took a lot of pride in that work. We loved what we did. We loved working on those cases and defending healthcare providers. They are heroes in a lot of ways. But I think that when we switched to the plaintiff side, Our dad always taught us, we need to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. We need to fight for the patient who had a catastrophic injury due to a medical error and can't work anymore and can't support their family. On the other side, we were defending very sophisticated hospitals and doctors and healthcare systems, and that was great. But I think we take a lot of pride in helping people who can't fight for themselves. And I think we all really enjoy medical malpractice because it is a very fascinating area of the law. With every case, we have to learn and do a little crash course on the medicine and learn different areas of the medicine. And, when you're taking a deposition of a doctor in a medical malpractice case, you better be up on your medicine and know your stuff. So it requires a lot of preparation and hard work, but I think that we all enjoy the challenge and we like it a lot.
Erica, Gianna mentioned something that I was actually really interested in following up on. I teach, and part of my teaching is clinical too. So I am in rural West Texas courthouses with a lot of young students,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of my students are young women.
Mm-hmm.
And I am kind of conscious about how differently the attention is paid to them,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're negotiating with a prosecutor in this case, because I do indigent criminal defense,
Mm-hmm.
or just sort of the way that they're listened to or not listened to, that
Mm-hmm.
the students that I have that are women. I'm wondering if you three have an opinion about that too, Eric, or if you felt it
Mm-hmm.
where you feel like you have to do twice as much, or you're just perceived or received differently when you go into a deposition.
Of course. I think there's always somewhat of an uphill battle, not only when you're a woman, but when you're a young woman. In our careers, we've many times been the youngest attorneys in the room, or sometimes the only female attorneys in the room. And unfortunately, or fortunately, what that means is you have to be twice as prepared, you have to be twice as ready. And certainly that's not fair, but that's the world that we live in. So we really pride ourselves on the fact that even if we are the youngest attorney, we will always be the most prepared. We pride ourselves on trying to make a name for women in this field. And that's why we're so proud to be a women-owned and female-led business. And while there are those challenges, we also find that there are many benefits to being a young female attorney in this field. Sometimes we can connect with our clients in a way that an older male attorney might not be able to. Lauren and I just had a client meeting with a new potential client this afternoon. And she said to us, she had met with an older male attorney prior to us, and she said, I just feel like I can connect with you more. You understand me more. You seem like you're listening to me more. And so those are things that we think that we can offer our clients, or just the field of law, that perhaps older male attorneys or male attorneys in general can't. And I think that's when we talk about empathy, that's the empathy that a female-led firm can offer in this industry in this day and age.
And I think kind of just spitballing off of that, Erica mentioned we have to be, twice as prepared. We have to know the law better, just because there are those, biases that might come up against women. But I think at the end of the day, those are going to come up anyways. And our work and our product and our work product and the results that we get speak for themselves.
Makes complete sense. I like how you guys are tackling this. Like, it doesn't matter the barrier you're sending our way.
Mhm.
We're gonna just jump right over it and achieve our
Right.
goal.
And I think we also want to, as Joe said, he has a lot of young female students. We want to pave the way for them. We want to lift them up. We want to show them that you can do it and you will do it. And in fact, you can do it yourselves. I just read a quote the other day that said, when they won't give you a seat at the table, sometimes you have to build your own. And that's exactly what we did. We're starting our own firm. We're doing it our own way. And we know that it's going to be a great success because of who we are as attorneys.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why we're able to do what we do is because of the really great female role models that we've worked with growing up. And they've given us the confidence to kind of move forward, even if there were other male attorneys or other, roadblocks in the way. Those female attorneys that kind of believed in us and have given us the confidence, we hope that we can do that for young female attorneys in the future.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Lauren, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to scaling, you guys, January, the firm is still very fresh, but the scaling will happen in the future. Where do you see yourselves growing into? Do you want to have a large firm? What do you feel is one of your next goals after you've just achieved the incredible one in January?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think we just opened in January. We're already so busy, which is a good problem to have, but we're slowly realizing, we probably will need to scale maybe sooner rather than later. So I think we're definitely open to adding attorneys, certainly adding staff, but at the same time, I think we would all be fine with just working with each other forever. So that's kind of where we are on that.
I'm kind of enjoying this little bubble that's just us three for now, but I think Lauren's right. It might not last as long as we hoped it would.
Well, and also it sounds like there's going to be, because of the intimacy that you have and the fact that you're all doing certain things on the same case, and you said, I think wonderfully at the beginning, when someone walks in, everyone's going to know about the case. As you grow, I mean, naturally, you sort of lose some of that, right? You don't have, you just don't have the bandwidth, and then you have to trust people, and then you have to sort of hire the right people, and there's got to be a culture fit, and how do you make that culture fit? So it is a good problem to be too busy, but I guess that's a long-winded preface to my question, which is, how are you deciding what to say yes and no to right now?
I was just going to say that Lauren and G, having done this for a little over 3 years now, they have such a good instinct for what is a good case, what cases will be too time consuming, and what cases that we can handle right now. So I really defer to them on kind of their gut instinct in that regard. We just had a case referred to us yesterday, and I could just see like their brains working. Like this is not something that we want to take on right now. And they were right. So I think that I really defer to them, and maybe they can speak to their process in that regard, especially since we're starting small here.
Yeah, and with the medical malpractice cases, it's really important that you only proceed with the right cases. Our dad always tells us, it's not in med mal, it's not about the cases that you take, it's what you don't take. And if you have to think twice about a med mal, it's probably not a good case to take because they are so time consuming, they are so expensive. We're getting experts, we're spending money up until honestly, a lot of times the courthouse steps. So we have to be really careful with what we take with medical malpractice cases. So we really vet them very thoroughly to make sure it's a good fit. Same thing with auto, and we do some workers' comp work. Gianna heads up a lot of that. And I think, like Erica said, Gianna and I have both kind of developed gut feelings about certain cases. And sometimes we'll take a case and we'll look back and say, we knew in our gut we probably shouldn't have taken that. So, but it's just as you continue to get more experience learning how to trust your gut and say, that might not be a great fit.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to we work so well together and we trust each other so wholeheartedly. So if I think, we should take a case maybe, but Lauren, feels strongly one way or another that we should not, or vice versa, we always defer to each other, and ultimately we collaborate. But if Lauren or Erica make a decision on one of their cases, I fully trust whatever decision they make.
Gianna, I had a question for you around managing wearing multiple hats. So a challenge of, starting your own firm is you are all of it, right? You're the finance person, you're the attorney, how do you go about wearing those multiple hats and deciding what to delegate to one of your sisters or take on yourself?
We are learning that this is not or no longer, a 9-to-5 job. We are working late because of the fact that we are, taking on all these different roles and responsibilities. We're working on the weekends. And I think what's been really helpful is because we're so close, we hang out all the time anyways. So if we have to meet on a weekend to talk about cases or talk about how we're going to delegate tasks for that specific case or for that specific week, that's something that we actually look forward to. We like meeting up with each other and talking about these cases, and we kind of like that we have the autonomy to decide who's going to do what, how we're going to break up the work. And right now it's been really, easy to do that. And it's been nice that, you can call Lauren or you can call Erica and say, I'm slammed this week. I need help with XYZ. And they're more than happy to step in. Same for them. There's just going to be weeks where you have more going on, and one of us is always more than happy to step in and kind of take on that task.
Okay, like a legal strategy question for you on the plaintiff side. When do you decide to file suit? A lot of people sort of wait. Some people think that you can sort of negotiate a lot and do a lot up front. Some people believe that it's just like, I've sized up the case, I'm just filing the lawsuit, and then we're going to get into discovery and go from there. Just different pressure. How do you guys make that decision?
I think that, for our auto cases or premises liability cases, we typically make a good faith effort to negotiate with the insurance company and see if they're willing to resolve it prior to filing suit. Honestly, 8 times out of 10, they typically are. So that really lends itself well to pre-suit negotiations and resolution. With medical malpractice cases, what we've found is, unless it's really, really clear liability, for example, like a wrong site surgery or a retained surgical item during an operation, you probably won't have great success at settling pre-suit. So with those, even though we may get the initial client call, say day 1, we may not file until day 365 because we are vetting it that entire time, getting the records, getting the experts. But we always like to file, obviously, well in advance of the statute. We are never like to be up against that. But yeah, we tend to give cases other than MedMal a good faith effort to try to resolve pre-suit.
Yeah, I agree. With workers' compensation, it's a little bit of a different beast in that the litigation kind of starts, right when you get the case. You're required to file a petition with the court. And so typically in those cases, it's kind of the litigation starts from the jump, but that doesn't mean that down the line, the other side isn't wanting to settle or mediate your case at a later point.
Eric, I would love to know more about your process. So you mentioned, as Lauren mentioned, you can settle a lot of these right beforehand. The insurance company will be like, hey, you're right. Let's just do this to go to settlement. But in the off chance that something does go to court and it's coming, how do you guys prep for trial? What does that look like on your team, especially with such a small team? What does trial prep look like to you?
The trial prep is really an all hands on deck situation. We have a medical malpractice trial coming up soon. And we were actually just talking about trial preparation yesterday. And essentially, you have to, again, be able to delegate, and you have to be able to delegate with full trust in your partners. And we're lucky that we're able to do that. That's when being sisters really lends itself to this situation, because as Gianna said, you can delegate something and it will be done. It will be done on time and it will be done right. And that's half the battle in trial prep, is just knowing that everybody is working on something, and that the work product is going to be perfect, because frankly, for trial, it has to be perfect, especially in a medical malpractice trial. And it might be something as intense as cross-examining an expert, but it might be, hey, we need somebody to run the exhibits. Especially we call our firm skeleton crew right now. I mean, it's just the 3 of us. We're trying to manage costs, of course. So all of and we all recognize that not one thing is more important than the next. I am more than happy to do grunt work if that's what requires for the Kelly firm or for trial to be successful. None of us feel that we are above one task or that anything is beneath us. So I think that as we get ready and prepare for trial, we just all need to be ready to be available 24/7 to take on whatever task we're needed for. And again, to do it on time and to do it right.
I think we're also not really, because we're sisters, nobody's going to hurt one another's feelings with anything that's said, during prep or if somebody needs something done urgently. So I think that's also good. I mean, it's no hard feelings, especially when it gets, down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I think that matters a lot. Like that blunt level of feedback without it being taken personally because
Mhm.
you're just there's no time for that. All right.
Mhm.
So skeleton crew 24/7 trial prep is all hands on deck. All of this makes sense. You're growing a law firm, started a month ago. Like, well, how do you this is a profession, I sort of have lived my version of this too, that can lend itself to tremendous imbalance
Mhm.
personally,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you can just be sucked into the work, not just from the time allocation point of view, which is a lot,
Mhm.
but then from, as you talked about, you meet enough people going through their darkest time or their lowest moment, and then there is that secondary trauma side to it. There's
Mhm.
that sort of, oh my goodness, I don't like, you can get jaded by darkness almost. So where is the space and time outside of this for you to be full people? And any of you can answer this one.
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, our profession, I think, makes everyone very susceptible to compassion fatigue and all of those things and imbalance, like you said. I think we all three do a really good job of kind of checking each other with that. Like, for example, we were working on a brief this week, and Erica drafted it, and I was kind of reviewing it, and she was like, "It's it's good. You're done. Just send it in. It's good," because it's easy to like go overboard and get way too far in the weeds with things. So I think we do a good job of checking each other and saying, okay, you need to be done for the day. You need to go live your life. And we also just honestly, like we said, enjoy hanging out with each other, going to dinner, going to different activities, doing events together. We're always saying like we have three friends. We have another sister too. So there's four of us and we're like all each other's only friends. So it makes it easy to kind of give yourself work-life balance that way. And for example, yesterday we had a big meeting with another firm where we were talking about case referrals. And afterwards, we were like, let's go to lunch and decompress together. The three of us went. And it's just like a good way to kind of cool off and not get too far into the work stuff.
What sister, you have so why is she not on this call? When did she graduate from both pits?
We always say that Ari is too smart to be a lawyer. She is a dentist anesthesiologist. So yes, she went to dental school and then she followed up with an anesthesiology residency, and now she runs the anesthesia for dental procedures. So that's why she's not here, because she's too smart to be one of us.
But she did go to Pitt for undergrad and graduate
Of
school,
course,
of course.
of course.
I'm not shocked.
So it sounds like, honestly, big shout out to the family, your parents. You guys are killing. You guys are all
Thanks,
phenomenal.
Adrian.
Thank you.
Just hearing your story, this is very very cool, very very cool. Kelly, Lauren, I wanted to ask you a question around. You're running a very slim team right now, right? It's just the
Mhm.
three of you. And resources aren't infinite, obviously. So, how do you decide what type of technology you should bring into the firm to really help your process? How do you know what to invest in, and if it's worth the resources you currently have?
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions about those things since we opened in January. And again, because we're trying to keep costs balanced, we have a meeting, several meetings, and discuss, every piece of technology we want to invest in. And we vet a lot of different things. We'll do a lot of different demos. Recently, we just signed on with an AI company that we've done a bunch of demos, but we were extremely impressed with this one. And so we thought, okay, this is worth the investment for our cases and our clients. We did the same thing with case management systems. We're looking into different vendors for medical record retrieval. So we have several meetings. And by the end of the day, we just have to decide, okay, is this worth the investment? Is it going to improve our clients' outcomes? And if yes, then we go for it. But it's after a lot of discussion and discernment because, like you said, resources are not infinite.
And it is a true cost benefit analysis. If we invest in this AI program, how many hours a week is that going to save us all from doing XYZ? So I think we only invest when we are sure, as Lauren said, it's going to improve client outcome, but also it's going to save us a lot of man hours on the back end.
Do you guys tell your clients, or do you have any sort of language in your engagement with them that you might be using AI throughout the course of your representation?
So we've actually talked about, I know a lot of firms have started doing that, and we're planning to do the same. We make sure that we only use closed AI systems right now because we take client confidentiality, especially their medical records, very seriously. But I know that a lot of firms have been adding language to their fee agreements indicating, we may use AI to improve your outcome. And so that's something we've definitely talked about as well.
Amazing. So tell me, what do you feel is your biggest challenge? I asked this to Gianna, but I would love to hear it from Erica. When it comes to either taking on a new client, how do you know, man, this may not be for me. It may be for, Gianna or Lauren. What does that look like in practice of like handoff or how does that flow?
Well, I always joke that Lauren and G are the brains and I'm just the brawn. So a lot of times I defer to them because they've been doing this a lot longer than I have. And they know how best to handle certain clients, how best to handle certain cases. But what I pride myself on is I really will put my head down and do anything to get a certain result. If it's a difficult client, I have no problem being the one to call them. If it's a client that's a little bit needier and they need a lot of follow-up, I have no problem being the one to constantly follow up with them when Lauren and G are doing something else. So it really does, I think, a lot come down to personality, our personalities, and also our clients' personalities. We kind of know who is best suited to handle one person versus another. And again, that's another instance where being sisters and understanding each other's personalities comes into play. Gianna might say, hey, can you call this client? I think you'd be able to have a better conversation with them than me. As Lauren said earlier, she is the most detail-oriented, organized person ever. So if it's a client that we know is going to get into the nitty-gritty details of the case, we know that Lauren should call them because she knows every single nitty-gritty detail of the case. So it's just circumstances like that where I feel like we know our clients and we know our personalities, and they know us too. Sometimes it'll be Lauren's client, but they'll call for me. It'll be my client, but they'll call for G, because they know what personality works for them too. So I think we do a good job of delegating that work as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna name like 4 or 5 situations, and I would love to hear from you. Who would be the person who would be best at these things?
I love that.
What do you
Let's
think
do
about
it.
this? Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so assuming a lot is right. So let's say you're getting in trial, you're prepping for trial, obviously biggest case to date. Who is giving opening statements?
Lauren.
Wow, unanimous. Okay, you have a really difficult expert to cross-examine. Who's doing that cross?
Erica.
Me.
Okay, what about a client that you obviously believe in, but has been you need to have a conversation with that client to like reset expectations or draw some boundaries or have a difficult conversation with a client. Who's having that conversation?
I think Gianna.
I think Gianna.
Yeah. Like she looks so sweet, but she can have really hard conversations.
That's amazing. So really like totally different skill sets.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for each of you not last in general, but if you could go back to law school and teach something, what would you want to teach each of you?
Oh my gosh.
So I actually am an adjunct professor at Pitt, and at Pitt Law School, and I teach a class. It's called pretrial pleadings or pretrial practice pleadings and discovery. And it was one of my favorite classes in law school. And basically, what we do is give the students a case fact pattern. We have them draft a complaint, draft the equivalent of a motion to dismiss, argue the motion to dismiss, argue a motion to compel discovery, take depositions, and then give a closing argument. And I honestly love teaching the class because at the beginning of the semester, the students are so nervous. They're so unsure of themselves. And the growth you see at the end, they are just phenomenal and they have so much more confidence. And I love teaching it. I love seeing the growth every semester of the students. So that's my answer.
I think I'm with Lauren. I feel like we came out of law school and you don't know how to be a lawyer. So I think I would go back and focus on the practicalities. Um, I, I laugh because my first year of law school, they made us take a class called lawyering. And I remember thinking, like, what is lawyering? Isn't that why we're here? But now I think back and like what they were intending to do is teach us the more practical things of being a lawyer, not contracts and torts and fact patterns, but really how to be an attorney. So I think that would be my response.
Yeah. I would probably teach legal writing. I think that's one that's so boring when you're in law school, but you learn quickly that a lot of time, I mean, obviously it's a lot of writing, but I think, to be a good brief writer or a good, researcher and be able to turn that into something that you're ultimately going to provide to the court is an important skill. So that's my answer.
Gianna, I think that perfectly segues into my question, and that's with the rise of AI, do you feel that writing has gotten worse with these briefs, or do you think there's just less critical thinking and the way they're done? Because there's an easy way out.
That's a good question. I think lawyers in particular are honestly a bit more careful when using AI for things like writing and brief writing because of the possibility of hallucinations with, spitting out cases that aren't legit or cases that are legit but do not support the proposition that they, say that they are supporting. And so I think AI can be a really good tool for, coming up with arguments that you might not have thought of initially. Um, but I think, lawyers in general, especially, there are some court opinions that come out where judges are reprimanding attorneys for utilizing AI in brief writing. I think it's a good tool to, expand your critical thinking, but I think it ultimately still comes down to lawyers making sure that everything is correct and still having a baseline ability to make arguments and articulate themselves in their briefs properly.
Lauren, this is coming back to you, and you're a month and 6 days into your firm. Lawyers are notoriously sort of, in some areas of their lives, I suppose, risk averse, and starting any business is not risk averse. What advice are you giving to someone who is coming to you saying, I have an idea, I want to go out on my own and do my own thing? Like, what are you telling them?
I say do it. I think and we've heard this from a lot of people that have started their own firms. It's just the most amazing experience to have something of your own. It's equal parts terrifying and exciting, but I think if you have good partners, if you have a good foundation, you can make it work. And there's a quote, it's a blessing to be tired and a challenge of your own choosing. So, it's really rewarding. It's tiring, it's scary, but it's super rewarding. So I would recommend it to anyone.
Okay. This is typically a question we ask at the end of our podcast. And because there are three of you, I'm going to go one by one. And it is going to be, what is your hottest take on the industry right now? And Erica, would love to hear from you first.
Sure. So we actually talked about this a bit yesterday in preparing for the podcast. And I think my hot take is that I think a lot of people think that the personal injury market, especially in Pittsburgh, is oversaturated. And my hot take is there is not only enough work for everyone, but each firm in Pittsburgh, though there are many, brings something very unique to the market. What we offer is not going to be the same thing that the next firm offers. And I think that's why we decided to start our own firm, because we feel that we offer something very unique as a women-owned and a female-led law firm. We are just going to provide a different experience than the next firm. And again, I think there's room for all of us. I think certainly certain clients are going to feel more comfortable with us. Certain clients are going to feel more comfortable with another firm. And unfortunately, there is enough work in the Pittsburgh area to sustain everybody. And the bar in Pittsburgh is so cordial. We have had such a wonderful reception from other law firms who are our competitors. But they have reached out to us, said anything we can do to help you. We'll send you referrals. We're here if you need to pick somebody's brain. If you need to use our conference room downtown, please do. So I think ultimately my hot take is that while this market can be seen as oversaturated, I think there's enough room for everyone to provide the city of Pittsburgh and their communities great legal service in their own unique way.
All right. That is an amazing hot take. Now, Gianna, would love to hear from you, and then we'll go to Lauren.
I have a hot take, and we actually met with a law firm yesterday, and they were actually saying the same thing in that it doesn't really the quality of work doesn't correlate to the number of attorneys you have at a firm. I think there's a misconception that if you go to a firm with 200 attorneys, you're going to get, I don't know, better results or better service. And I think it actually might be, quite the opposite. When you are going to a firm with less attorneys, at least you're going to talk to one of those attorneys. You're not going to talk to a secretary or a paralegal every time you call. And I think it just gives you, better value. You're going to talk to one of us whenever you call. You know that we're handling your case directly. We're not kind of pushing it off on secretaries and attorneys. So that's my hot take. I think smaller firms give better, quality of work.
Great hot take, and we have not heard that on the podcasts so far.
We also hadn't heard Eric is one of Pittsburgh specific one either.
Yeah.
So these are
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, no pressure.
Oh my gosh, those were really good hot takes. My hot take, I think, would be this is something I've been thinking about recently. I think that as lawyers, a lot of us feel like, with the rise of social media, you have to be constantly posting content or saying what you're doing on LinkedIn or having a TikTok or doing all these things. And I mean, that's certainly helpful. It's marketing, it's putting yourself out there, it's being top of mind for people. But my hot take would be you just have to do really good work. Be a good lawyer and a person that's good at their craft. Be good to your clients. Have the respect of other lawyers in your community and your peers such that they want to send you referrals. So, I mean, while it's great to be marketing yourself like that and posting, I don't think that should become the main focus. I think the main focus needs to continue to be the work and the grind behind the scenes.
I love that one. Since you guys are full of quotes, the one that reminds me of is what you do speaks so loudly I can't hear what you say. And that feels so authentic to me because those victories, those wins very often don't show up anywhere. And those are nice ones. Those are just well, thank you all. That's a wrap on today's episode of Between the Briefs. And a big thank you to the three of you for sharing your perspectives on medical malpractice advocacy, the transition from defense to plaintiff work, and what it takes to launch a family-founded law firm.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you,
Of course.
Adrian and Joe.
Of course. And to our audience out there, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And thanks for listening. Stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time. Up next on Between the Briefs.
I mean, I sort of alluded to it, but I think that generative AI and its hallucinations are just exposing the ugly underbelly of incompetence that's always existed in our profession. I think that a lot of people have gotten away with incompetent legal work for far too long, and they've just been given the benefit of the doubt, and this is just exposing it. It's one thing to use somebody else's brief and apply it to your case and not read it, like someone else's brief in your firm, or to do sloppy legal research or not read the research or not read what the associates provided you and you sign your name to it. But it's a whole other, and it's easier in those situations for the court to be like, oh, well, they must have just mistyped a number and they really meant a different citation, or they misquoted the case, or that's really not what the proposition they meant to cite when they cited that particular case. It was really a different case that stood for that legal proposition. But now it's like that case doesn't even exist. Like, what are you talking about?
Stay tuned for the full interview coming to you soon. Between the Briefs is brought to you by Steno. To find out more about Steno and how we combine exceptional court reporting and litigation support services to deliver a superior litigation experience, visit steno.com. That's STENO.com. And then make sure to search for Between the Briefs in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Steno, thanks for listening.